So we're going to get started. So let me hit the record button here. All right, well, welcome and hello everyone, and welcome to this webinar from the NASA Night Sky Network. We're hosting tonight's webinar from the smoky skies of San Francisco, California. We are very excited to present this webinar with a variety of guest speakers, including Andrea Jones from NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, Sandlin Buxner from the Planetary Science Institute in Tucson, Arizona, and our own Vivian White. Welcome to everyone joining us on the live stream. We're very happy to have you with us. We have monthly webinars for members of the Night Sky Network and these special edition webinars about upcoming events. For more information about the NASA Night Sky Network and the Astronomical Society of the Pacific, at some point, someone will put some links in the chat so that you can find out more about us. For those of you who are on Zoom, you can find the chat window and a Q&A window by scrolling at the bottom of the edge of the Zoom window on your desktop. Please feel free to greet each other in the chat window or to let us know if you're having any technical difficulties. You can also send us an email at nightskyinfo@astrosociety.org. And also to a reminder, please make sure down at the very bottom in the chat window, there's a little blue button, and make sure you select all panelists and attendees. It defaults to just panelists, and the only people that will see your greetings are those of us who are hosting the webinar. If you do have a question during the course of the webinar and you'd like the team to answer it, please type it into the Q&A window. That will help us keep track and also know whether or not we've answered your questions or not. So again, welcome to this webinar of the NASA Night Sky Network. This month, we welcome the International Observe the Moon Night team to our webinar. With quite a large team of presenters this evening, let's get right to the program. So here is Andrea Jones. Andrea.
Thank you, Brian. Can everybody hear me?
We can. We can't see you yet.
Interesting. I appear frozen on my own screen. but if you can hear me, that's really the more important one, I suppose. All right. So audio, and I think Vivian is getting ready to share that. Wonderful. Thank you. So hello and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us this evening or today or whatever time it is wherever you are. We really appreciate that you are taking time out of your busy day in this crazy time, a time when so many other things may well be at the forefront of your mind, to be here with us. We really, really appreciate it. As mentioned, my name is Andrea Jones, and I am the Public Engagement Lead of the Solar System Exploration Division at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center, and I'm also the Director of International Observe the Moon Night. I'm here with two of my esteemed colleagues today from the International Observe the Moon Night Coordinating Committee, Sandlin Buxner and Vivian White. And I think many of you know Vivian, but I know we have a larger audience than just the Night Sky Network here today. So would you two like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'll go first. My name is Sandlin Buxner. I'm at the Planetary Science Institute in Tucson, Arizona, and have been with International Observe the Moon Night for almost 10 years. And I'm very excited, and I'll be talking about how we can gather some feedback and really, we continually improve the program. So we'll be talking about that later.
Hi, everybody. I'm Vivian White, and I am calling in from Berkeley, California tonight. I work at the Astronomical Society of the Pacific in San Francisco usually, and I help administer the NASA Night Sky Network with many of the people on this call this evening. Dave Prosper and Brian Cruz are here with us, and we've been working with the International Observe the Moon Night for maybe close to 10 years too. Is that possible? Yeah, so it's one of our favorite events of the year, and we're really glad to be talking to you tonight.
Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, so we are very eager to share a lot of things with you today. We know some of you are longtime supporters, longtime participants of International Observe the Moon Night. And we know some of you, or we hope some of you, are new, and we're hoping that we have information for all of you that will be helpful and valuable to you. As already mentioned, definitely feel free to use the chat box for questions at any time, but also please share your ideas at any time. So we know a lot of you have a lot to offer as well. If you have a great idea for International Observe the Moon Night this year, if you have a question you'd like to crowdsource from your fellow hosts or participants, or if you have a memory that you'd like to share from a previous event that you'd like others to hear about, please feel free to do that at any time. So this is going to be a lot of fun, and we hope that you all get to share and get to learn a lot of fun things this evening. So Vivian, if you could advance the next slide. So I always like to set a tone here as we get started. So my question for you this evening, or this morning, wherever you are, is what is your favorite memory of the moon? Or what is a favorite memory that features the moon in it? And you can think of this on your own, or you're welcome to share in the chat box.
I used to always think the moon followed me home at night. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, there are so many. It's always hard for me to decide my own personal one, but there are so many out there. And I love asking this question because everyone I've ever asked has an answer. We all have a personal connection to the moon. And the moon is featured in cultures around the world. It's in our language, it's in our art. When I talk or I teach about the moon, I like to start here with our memories and our experiences, because it's just more fun and more powerful to start with something that's so relatable. And I started our talk here tonight with this because it's incredibly relevant to International Observe the Moon Night as well. So next slide, please, Vivian. So for those of you who are not familiar or might need a reminder, International Observe the Moon Night is a worldwide celebration of lunar science and exploration. It's also a celebration of celestial observation and our cultural and personal connections to the moon. So one day each year, we invite everyone on Earth to go out to observe and learn about and celebrate the moon together. So you can participate by hosting an event, by attending an event, or as a lunar observer. And you can also connect online with fellow lunar enthusiasts around the world through social media on a number of different platforms. So this event occurs each year on a Saturday in September or October when the moon's around first quarter, as that's a great phase for evening observing. It's highest in the sky at sunset. And it's a great phase for observing the moon through a telescope as topography pops out along the terminator, that line between day and night. Just like where we see great shadows at dawn and dusk here on Earth, we see them on the moon as well. And this is a date that pops around as well because of holidays that we try to avoid in the fall. So I want to point out, while you're taking a look at this beautiful slide here, this is a poster that Tyler Nordgren made for us, and it's available on our website in case you'd like to decorate someplace near you with a beautiful image as well. Next slide, please. So International Observe the Moon Night was inspired by the energy and enthusiasm that we saw at events that we held at NASA's Goddard Space Flight Center and at NASA's Ames Research Center in California, celebrating the arrival of the Lunar Reconnaissance Orbiter, as well as our sister mission, the Lunar Crater Observing and Sensing Satellite, or LCROSS, when we arrived at the moon in 2009. So we had a great big party and then thought we need some more. So we went big. We tried to do a national Observe the Moon Night. It didn't work. People around the world were already interested. So right away it launched into International Observe the Moon Night. And since this time, since we arrived at the moon, LRO and many other missions have really reshaped our understanding of our nearest neighbor in space. With LRO, we found evidence of recent volcanism, maybe on the order of millions of years, still trying to figure that out for sure. We've watched impact craters form before our eyes at a higher rate than we expected. We've studied the polar environments and found ice in areas of permanent shadow, as well as areas of permanent or almost permanent illumination. We found the coldest temperature ever measured on a surface in the solar system. And we've learned the shape of our moon better than we know the shape of our Earth or any other planet or object in the universe on this kind of scale. So we are building here on the legacy of Apollo, providing context to places people already have walked on the moon. And we're paving the way for our return to the moon with people, intended for 2024. And next slide, please. This return to the moon will be through the Artemis program. So hopefully many of you have heard of this already. Maybe some of you are very familiar with it. But this is a global collaboration with private partnerships, working with nations around the world, aiming to get us to the south pole of the moon by 2024 with people returning, the next man, the first woman to the surface of the moon. And from there, we're aiming to build a sustainable lunar presence and then head onward to Mars. So this is a really, really exciting time for lunar science, for exploration. And International Observe the Moon Night is a great time of year to catch up on what's been going on with the moon in the past year and look for some updates as well. We'll keep you informed throughout the year through our listserv, through our website, and through social media channels as well. But this is a really, really great time to be getting the world excited and informed of what's happening in lunar science. Next slide, please. But there is more than just lunar science. And there are also many, many ways that you can observe the moon. So we would really like people to observe or interpret the word observe broadly. So you can look at the moon with your naked eye, which is one of the greatest things about the moon. It's a very accessible celestial object. You can also look through a telescope, and you can observe it in other ways, such as with your fingertips. Perhaps you are able to get to a 3D printer or have one of your own. You can actually print out models of the lunar surface, and we can talk more about that if you're not familiar with it. I think Vivian might touch on that. Certainly, we have instructions for doing that on our website as well. You can listen to the moon, listen to moon songs, listen to stories. You can taste the moon or models of the moon if you make some sandwich cookies into lunar phases, or if you make your own moons with icing and sugar in some other way. But really through art, through paintings, through sculpture, through dances, we have a lot of art focus this year, particularly with International Observe the Moon Night. And Vivian will talk about some of that. But really, we want to highlight lunar science and exploration, but also the moon in arts and culture. And we really also want people to start with the moon and launch from there into your own space science or celestial observation story broadly. And it's a great opportunity, too, to have people connect with their families with things that maybe kids are learning at school, and teachers can connect across different subject matters. So really, we're hoping to be holistic in our view of, or in our hope that people are observing the moon. Next slide, please. So to give you a little bit of information about where we've come recently, in 2018, we broke all program records by having 1,046 people registered and events registered throughout the United States and in 75 different countries around the world. Then last year, we had almost 2,000 events and registered observers, again, in all 50 US states, and this time 102 countries. And we had an estimated 255,000 people participating last year alone. Sandlin is tracking all of this information with her team for us, and she can tell you a little bit more there. But it's really amazing the growth that we've had recently, and we are hoping every single year to break down barriers and make entry into the program easier for people who would like to participate. Next slide, please. So some of the ways that we're doing it are visible on our website. So we've made some major changes in this past year. I hope you have had some time to explore it. I encourage everyone to dive in, swim around, see what you can find, and see what else we can do to improve this experience. We really would like you to be able to find the resources that you're looking for and to add new resources that maybe aren't there if they would be helpful to you. Some of the feedback that you've sent us through your evaluation data is here for you. This is your information at work, and I really thank you for all the information you're providing to help us make this program better for you. I also wanted to let you know that something particularly in mind for us this year was to try to accommodate more individual, small group, and virtual participation, and we're going to touch on that in more detail. So those are some of our big objectives. We want people to safely observe the moon, however it's possible to do that from where you are. And one other thing I'll note, last night I put these slides together and I see that my numbers are already outdated, which is so fun. We had just over 750 events last night, and just before we started today, we had 800 or almost 800 events and observers registered. So watching these numbers grow, I think, is really fun, but I hope you do too, because you are a part of this and you are part of a real global celebration. Next slide, please. So in order to help with breaking down these barriers to entry, we tried to make registration easier and smoother and making more sense in this new world that we're living in. So you can register a public event, which maybe some of you out there will do so, a private or household event, so you can observe with your family, some close friends, maybe a neighbor, or as an individual lunar observer. So we're only going to share on our website specifics on how people can find your event if you register a public event. That way you can attract a larger audience than you might otherwise. You have people who are looking to participate, want to find an event, and they can find you. But if you're looking with your family, we don't want them to find you. So we're only going to put your pin on the map in the general geographic area, maybe the center of your town, the center of your zip code. But this way, nobody will be able to find you specifically, but you can still show the world that you are part of this event as well. All right. One other thing to mention when we're talking about registration is that the official date for International Observe the Moon Night this year is September 26th. However, we know that this date may not be best for you or for the people that you're observing with. So you can register an official event anytime between September 19th and October 3rd. We encourage you to aim for the September 26th date, but please feel free to go with a date that's better for you if that's something that would make it easier for you to participate. And when people are looking to join an event, or if you are looking to join an event, you can search for events held on all of those different days as well. And you can also search in-person events or virtual events to make sure that you are able to participate in the way that you would like to, and also hosting as you would like to. Next, please. All right, so something else exciting for this year is that we are going to have a giant NASA virtual event. We always have events across NASA, But this year, on September 26th, we are going to stream International Observe the Moon Night programming on NASA TV and through NASA social media channels like YouTube and Facebook between 5:30 p.m. Eastern and 11:30 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have content contributed from Goddard, from NASA Goddard, from LPI, the Lunar and Planetary Institute, and NASA Johnson Space Flight Center, or NASA Johnson's, I don't even know the JSC, Johnson Space Center. And also we have an Art of Planetary Science team at the University of Arizona. We have the NASA Solar System Exploration Research Virtual Institute, or SURVey, at NASA Ames participating. And maybe you can contribute as well. So we are actually seeking volunteers to stream live telescopic images of the moon to incorporate into this NASA broadcast and on the NASA social media channels. We're also looking for backups for these live streams because we know that sometimes there are technical glitches. And we also would like some live streams available on our website. So in case people just want to sit back, relax, and look at the moon, if it might be cloudy or smoky from where they are, they can still do that. So if you are interested in sharing a telescope feed from wherever you are on the Earth to NASA, please let us know. Just sign up in the chat, send us your email address, and we have a colleague on our team who is going to be working with you to make sure that you fulfill the requirements so that you would be able to do this successfully. So please do let us know if you're interested. Also of note, throughout this broadcast, we're going to be answering questions through Ask NASA. So if you're hosting an event, you can stream this. If you're with your family, you're welcome to watch it. And you can also ask questions from lunar scientists throughout the evening. NASA scientists are going to be on hand to answer your questions. Next slide, please. All right, so marching along here, we want to make sure, one back, yeah, thank you. So we do know that many of you are very experienced event hosts, so that's fabulous. But if you're new and you're interested in getting involved, yeah, thanks, Vivian. We have some tips for you. So we have a lot of event materials. We outline how you might consider planning an event if you're new to this. But even if you're experienced, we have advertising materials that you can use. We have a press release template. We have a fillable event flyer. We have social media shareables. We have lots of things for you to share information about your event and to make sure it's got everything that you would like. We have noted from our evaluation data that many of you work with partners to host your events. So if you are looking for a partner, we have some information for you to help you find one if you need assistance. Next slide, please. I do want to take a moment here and remind everyone that we know a lot is going on in the world right now. The West Coast hosts of this webinar certainly are aware of that. Hurricane season is coming up all over. We are in the midst of a global pandemic. So a lot of the changes that we made to our website also have these things in mind. So if you can participate and have this be, a spot of joy in your life, in the world that you're living in, that would be amazing. But we really want you to stay safe out there and take care of yourselves, take care of one another, take care of your loved ones. That is most important. And we're trying to do our best to make sure that you can do that and participate in this program. But please let us know if there's anything further that we can do. And I also wanted to mention that our amazing graphic artist made this, and it's available on our website for you to use as you like. She also made new logos for us this year and a style guide, and they are all available on our website as well. Next slide, please. Towards taking care of ourselves, we do have a whole new section on our website for observing at home. So if you're hosting an event, you're still welcome to look at some of the resources that we compile here in case they're of interest. We also have 10 ways to observe the moon, some different ideas that you might want to take advantage of. Even if you're on your couch and you can't get outside, there are ways that you can participate and catch up on lunar science. Next, please. and also lots of fun activities and things like that. All right. We also are encouraging you to connect, again, as we talked about in the beginning, with others around the world who are sharing their experiences looking at the moon, learning about the moon, celebrating the moon. We have a Flickr group that has amazing art being contributed, as well as beautiful images. We have a Facebook page where you can ask questions from hosts and others around the world. And Observe the Moon on every social media platform is a way to share and to follow along as well. Next slide, please. Something I specifically wanted to call attention to among our resource collection are new moon maps. Brian Day from NASA Survey, the Ames Research Center, made new moon maps for us this year with 3 different themes. He couldn't even squish everything onto one page. So we have a human landing sites map. We have interesting lunar landforms that have favorable lighting on September 26th, and also some lunar mare highlighted, particularly as the libration of the moon on the 26th will be such that we get to peek a little bit further around the edge of the moon and see onto a part of the moon that's often on the far side. So this is going to be great. Next slide, please. And then my last thing I wanted to mention to all of you today in this part is just that we would love for you to celebrate after you're involved. We have our fillable, personalizable certificate of participation that will be getting to a website near you soon. It might be up right now. It was supposed to be posted today. Fill this in with your name, your organization's name if you like, and then keep in touch anytime through our newsletter, our website, and following along on NASA Moon on Twitter as well. And I will now turn it over to Vivian, who's going to tell us a little bit more about some activities and tips for hosting virtual events. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Andrea. Your enthusiasm is contagious. I hope I can meet it at some level. I am so pleased to get to talk to you all tonight. For those of you who are watching maybe on YouTube or after the fact, I'm Vivian White and I work at the NASA Night Sky Network. The Night Sky Network is an amazing group of astronomy clubs across the United States. We have over 400 clubs across the US who hold events for their communities on every day of the year in normal times, and especially on International Observe the Moon Night. There are a lot of events being held. So the Night Sky Network supports astronomy clubs in many different ways. We have activities that are specifically designed for amateur astronomers. We have a night sky planner. That's our website right there on the top. So I just wanted to say we've been connected and connecting amateur astronomers to International Observe the Moon Night for many years. And this year is a little bit different, but there are some things that'll be the same. We have plenty of outreach resources. Many of the clubs who are on tonight, you've received a Moon Toolkit. If you have not received a Moon Toolkit, let us know. Send an email to nightskyinfo@astrosociety.org, where you get all of your email from us. But they're great resources for anyone to use. These are downloadable online. We've got Can You See the Flag on the Moon handout, a question we often get as amateur astronomers, and some other Skywatcher's Guide to the Moon. We also have activities. Specifically, there's one that's the first 11 days, I believe, of moon phases. So or days 3 through 11, I believe. And these are all downloadable online. There's a bit.ly link right there, bit.ly/NSN Moon. And it's got tons of resources for doing activities, giving demonstrations about the moon. And these, some of them, especially this moon myths from around the world, you can do online just fine. It's something that you can present and then have people draw pictures of what they see in the moon and give them a chance to use their creativity there. So, but besides just that, we have slideshows. This top one here is a slideshow that you're free to use and modify about how we got to the moon and what our next steps are. There are also some great webinars that have been given in this past year. Brian Day, who made the lunar maps that are happening for the that he put together this year, the beautiful map you just saw Andrea
present. He gave a great talk a few months ago on lunar landing sites, past and future, using a very cool tool. And we have another one on lunar science and the moon 2024 about where we're headed in the next little bit. So I encourage you, those are both also on that same website, or you can just go to nightsky.network.org and search for the moon and you should be able to find it. Oh, thanks, Dave. He's putting it in the chat there. And because we know this is not our normal taking our telescope out on the sidewalk year for many of us, we have created some specific resources to help you hold virtual events. So if this is something that you are not yet familiar with, we've put together a quick tip sheet of 3 simple steps to holding virtual events. And the first recommendation is to get a team together. We are a team here on at the Night Sky Network, even if it's just your daughter or your neighbor or someone who is around to help with the technical pieces. It takes Dave and Brian and Andrea and all of us holding this webinar to kind of handle all the pieces of a virtual event. So they're a little bit different, but they have a lot of things in common with in-person events. So this will give you some tips. It also has, there's the website here, let's see, bit.ly/virtualastro. That has examples of people who are giving great virtual events on many different topics. If you want to do a webcast of the moon, for example, it'll show examples of how to do that. If you want to do an activity, it shows some great activities you can do. I think we have a picture here of Skip from the Westminster Astronomical Society. WASI. I'm like you, Andrea. I can't remember all of the acronyms from Maryland, and he's creating a comet in a virtual event, and they still had a great time. So it's not exactly the same, but there are a lot of fun things you can still do. Let's see, the virtual, you can find the virtual events for the International Observe the Moon Night at the place where Andrea gave it before, moon.nasa.gov/observe, but you can find virtual events all year long and in perpetuity now, because this is a new added bonus that we have all been learning to hold events virtually. So there's a bit.ly link there at the bottom, NSN Virtual, that will get you to all of the virtual events that are happening in the Night Sky Network, and we can all watch them, which is really fun. And I couldn't help but mention some of the amazing things that the International Observe the Moon Night folks are doing. They have really fun activities. We've got moon journals, which are something that you can hand out to people all along the way. A lot of people are putting them out on their front porch, making a little display at the end of their driveway saying, hey, here's your moon journal. Make sure to tune in here. There's also the Moon Photo Challenge Bingo, which I love. It's so much fun. It's a great challenge for students, for families to do together and see if you can take pictures of making an at-home space helmet, for example. And then I really, really have been so impressed with the astronomy art that they're doing on the International Observe the Moon Night. So this is a picture of Rosella Fanazzi, and she made a beautiful moon out of purples and grays. And if you go to the Observe site, you will find tons of different things. You can upload your own art. They have a whole Flickr page. So many opportunities to do fun moon things this year. Oh, there you go, activities. So there are a couple of ways to find them. Certainly start at the moon.nasa.gov/observe, and you can go straight to activities, that third circle there. Or you can always find moon activities and many, many more activities on the Night Sky Network. And I wanted to mention, Andrea was showing about how to post your events. If you are a member of the Night Sky Network and you post your events to the Night Sky Network calendar by the 15th of this month and include the word moon in it, we'll also add it to the International Observe the Moon Night calendar. So you don't have to do it twice. Of course, that's only for public events. We'll share those with the International Observe the Moon Night crew. So double the bang for your buck. And thank you so much for being here tonight. I am so looking forward to seeing what you guys do for this year's International Observe the Moon Night. I'm going to turn it over to Sandlin, and we'll take questions, I believe, at the end. So keep them coming.
Awesome. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our feedback mechanism that we have for this event. And it's serving lots of purposes. And so one of the things is we want to tell the story. So all those events, we are able to collect the numbers, but we don't want to just tell the number story. We want to tell just the richness of these experiences. And so the feedback mechanisms I'm going to talk about are helping us tell the story about events worldwide, of which you are such an important part. It helps us improve the event. And every year we're taking feedback from hosts and providing more and more resources. And then if you want, I am happy to provide individual evaluation support. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Next slide, please. To let you know, and we want to be very transparent, these are the goals of the coordinating committee. So this is what we are hoping for everyone. And we want to make sure that you know what our goals are for the event. And so the big one is to unite people across the globe in a celebration of lunar observation, science, and exploration. And so that's what Andrea was talking about. This is our big goal. And then we're hoping from the International Observe the Moon Night side to provide information and a platform and resources to help you all raise awareness of lunar science and exploration programs, specifically NASA, but really all, to empower individuals to learn more about the moon, space and exploration, again, using the moon that we all share a love of as a vehicle to do that. We want to help facilitate sharing of moon-inspired stories, artwork, images, lots of creative pieces, and then really inspire continued observation of the sky, which I think aligns with a lot of the work that we all do year round. Next slide, please. The importance of the feedback, again, is that it's used by NASA to help us get future support when we're telling them not only the numbers, but again, the richness of experiences, the types of activities that are being done. It really puts a face on this program and helps us provide even more support for more activities. It tells amazing stories, which we like to highlight. It helps us support hosts in the future. So we know, do you need more moon maps? Do you need more activities? And then it really helps support partners. And so we do have questions about partners. The way we gather this information is we have an observer survey. If you've been with us before, it was a visitor survey, but now we're just going to have a single observer survey to ask people how they're celebrating International Observe the Moon Night. And I'll talk more about it, but we're hoping that you will take advantage and push that out to everyone, as well as take it yourself. We will have a host survey. We send that out the day after the event. We want to know how it went. Did it get rained out? If you have a virtual event, we want to know all about that. We just really want to know, how can we make this better for you? What were your successes? What were your challenges? For your own knowledge, we also do a lot of analysis of registration data. And then we also look at worldwide social media. And that's how we stitch together this picture of the success of International Observe the Moon Night. Next slide, please. The observer survey is preset questions. It is all online. It's designed to be really snappy. And I'll show you the questions in a second. It's designed for anyone to take. Anyone can tell us about their event. And it is now administered online, especially with lots of events being virtual. We want to make it very easy. It can be taken from a phone, a tablet, or a computer. If you go to the next slide, I'll show you the questions so you can see. And so we're asking people to tell us where they participated from the country. They're telling us if they have done it before, how they celebrated International Observe the Moon Night. So they can tell us if they did it in person, at home, through a virtual event, with one of a organized event that you might have done. We want to know if they have learned anything, if they would consider themselves learning something, if they have increased interest, self-reported, if they want to learn more, and then having us share a couple words, if they choose to tell us whether it was inspiring or boring, or it was about community, social, just so we put that. And so my team, I have a team of space science specific evaluators, and we look at all that and we analyze it and we roll it up and put together a report that is given back to the community every year. So you can see the success of all of your events together. Next slide, please. if you want, we have a personalized survey that I am happy to work with you on. If it's your first virtual event, what information might be helpful to you for moving forward? Or is there information you need for funders or for people who've given you a gift? And we will actually provide that data specific, and then the aggregate data that we provide to everyone back to you within a couple weeks after your event. Next slide, please. So just to give you an idea, what might I ask? On past personalized surveys, people have asked things like, were your expectations met? This was in person. Wanting to know if people have come to other events like this. Which of the following activities did they do? Potentially if you had breakout rooms or you had an in-person event. Wanting to know the favorite part, if they have recommendations. Some people want to know what the zip code is of their visitors. And so we're happy to put together a personalized version of this along with our questions if you're interested. And I just saw in the chat if there's a QR code, and we will absolutely get a QR code going for that. So yes, we will share the QR code. Next slide, please. Okay, so personalized survey within a week of your request. So if you send me an email, say tonight, you'll get a personalized link. We can go back and forth if you want to add questions, or if you just want one for your event, totally fine. We can do one for Night Sky Network, all of that. If you do end up needing to do a paper version, that's fine. I'll give you a Word version. And if you snap some pictures, we enter all the data for you and still analyze it. And then we'll go ahead and give you a report of your data about 3 weeks later as we're analyzing all that data. Next slide, please. The surveys, again, for this year, there will be a host survey that we're really hopeful that you will fill out. And so that's the link, but we will make sure that gets pushed out to the Night Sky Network and all hosts. And so that's, again, giving us information about your own experience and what we can do better in the future. And then the observer survey, which I'm going to put in the chat, this is for everyone. And so if you just want to push it out, especially if you're doing a virtual event, it would be awesome for you to post it so that people can kind of tell us about what's going on during the event.
Oh, Sandlin, I think you just muted yourself accidentally.
I did. That's awesome when I posted it. So yeah, so we just, again, we'll have you post that. And so I put that in the chat, and so that is live and ready to go. So if you have events before the 26th, you're welcome to already start using that link. Next slide, please. And at this point, I'll just, we'll have some questions in a second. But I know we're doing that all at the end. But if there's any questions, like I said, send me a personal email. I'm going to put my email in here, and let's go to that last slide, Vivian. So again, if you want a personalized survey, it's very easy for me to set up. And again, we can go back and forth on this, and I will get those QR codes. But you'll tell me what's your institution or an event name or some way to keep it different, and some additional questions or kinds of questions that you want. And I'm happy to, like I said, work one-on-one with you if you want to collect some data this year. And with that, there's my email, and I am all done.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Sandlin, and thank you, Vivian and Brian and Dave. This is great to have everyone together here, and thank all of you for joining us again. I see that we have some questions that are coming in. I think we've already addressed the QR code question. And then we also have another question on Observe the Moon Night in French. So I will mention something we hadn't really discussed, but we are really, really eager to be getting more of our materials translated into a number of different languages. So several of our team members are working really hard on that. And this is sort of a trickle at the moment, but we are working with an international IAC. I think we're working with the IAC translation community. And then we also have some people from different countries and from different backgrounds at NASA centers or at associate institutions that we work with, and including France. So that is a group that is an audience that we are trying to provide resources for. But if anyone has particular requests, you can always send us those through our website, requesting certain documents translated first or into particular languages earlier than others. It's all sort of a prioritization game because we want to do everything, but we have to start somewhere. So if you're looking for those resources, let us know and we'll start, as much as we can with what you would like for whoever you would like to share it with.
Oh, we did have one question from someone on the YouTube chat, and you may have addressed this briefly earlier, but just in case, Renee was wondering what are the reasons why Observe the Moon Night is on September 26th this year specifically? Is there like a specific reason?
Sure, yeah, I'd be happy to talk about that again. It's a very popular question. So we choose our event date based on first looking at the phase of the moon. So we try hard to get it as close to a first quarter phase as possible because that is a great time for many of our hosts to hold events because the moon will be highest in the sky around sunset. So a little before sunset to a little after, and then you can continue observing the skies afterwards if you so choose. So that's a time of day that works really well. We like having a first quarter also because it has a terminator. It has that line between day and night. So if you are observing the moon through binoculars or with a telescope, looking along that line is some of the best viewing because the shadows are longest. And so the features really, really look beautiful there. And so we want those of you who do a lot of telescope observing to not be very upset when the moon is blocking out your dim sky objects, but instead embrace the opportunity to bring out those telescopes and use them and direct them towards the moon. So that's another reason for first quarter. Then we choose a Saturday because that has been the date historically that most of our hosts have liked to aim for with their events. Again, you're welcome to host a little before or a little afterwards if that's more convenient for you. And on our website, you can register an event between, I think, September 19th and October 3rd, so that you can be flexible with your own scheduling. And then we also try to avoid holidays. So we know there are a lot of holidays in the fall. We know some of those holidays are tied to the lunar calendar. And so we do our best to avoid the major holidays, understanding that we can't always do that for everyone. And that's, again, also why we have that date range to better accommodate your personal schedule. But great question. However, I will also add that we encourage lunar observations at all times that the moon is visible. So definitely, you're welcome to start, with the first quarter phase and keep going. And those moon observation journals help with that as well, of course. But anytime you can get out and look at the moon, that's a great time to go look at it. If anyone has other
Very
questions,
cool
we'd be
question.
happy to answer. Yeah.
I was going to say Norman Black just asked if we could get a QR code to get a map of the moon. And I know that Google has come up with a new system where you can just get QR codes for any link you'd like. But I think, do you have a QR code specifically for a map of the moon?
I don't think so. And I think it also depends on what kind of moon map you're looking for. Something I forgot to mention, and I'm glad someone mentioned the moon maps, is yes, Brian's maps are going to be amazing. So Northern Hemisphere versions, Southern Hemisphere versions, this is going to be great. You can print them out if you want. Or we are making them better adapted to our website. So you're going to be able to go onto our website, look for features, poke around on your computer or on your mobile device and have different features. And then coming soon to a computer near you or a phone near you, we're going to have an updated viewing guide for every single day of the year. So any day that you want to know what are some really cool things to look at with my naked eye, with a pair of binoculars, with a telescope, what can I see? We're going to show you a few of those things and then give you a description of them, and then also point to a place where you can see them in, high resolution through an LRO camera image, through a moon trek, site. Where can you really zoom in and look like you're looking out the airplane window at that feature that you can also see from your backyard or from a mountaintop or, a canoe or wherever you happen to be. These things you're going to be able to download them ahead of time in case you're going into a place with poor reception. You can just say, hey, August 3rd, 2021, I'm going to be here and this is what the moon will look like. So that's something that's coming soon. We're also going to be having a lot of new general moon resources on our website. So like, why does the moon have tides? How is that connected with how the moon is moving away from the Earth? How does the moon actually have tides as well caused by the Earth? And how are our days slowing here on Earth because of the moon, et cetera, et cetera. So there's going to be a lot more general resources as well as viewing resources coming to moon.nasa.gov. So should be really good. And if you have tips for us, we're always seeking information from you. So do contact us. Let us know what you're looking for. That's why we do this, because we want to share things that you would use and that you would share with others as well. If you have good moon questions that you have trouble answering with the resources you've been able to find, let us know. Let us make some new ones. So we're looking forward to that as well.
We are repurposing our projector, and we're going to put a moon surface on the sidewalk out front so that people can do a little moon walk as they walk past. There's so many creative ways people are going to come up with to do great moon events this year.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we had a really good time at the Apollo 50th anniversary on the National Mall. We had a giant moon map that people could walk on, and then we brought around moon rocks so people could hold the moon while they were walking on the moon. It was amazing. But I think that's something else that's so fun among this group in particular is how creative you all are, and you inspire us too, and you inspire new resources that we make. And then we love the motorcycles that get together and have ice cream and look at the moon, or the people who, take out, lawn chairs and look at the moon, or the treats that you get while trick-or-treating with the telescope plus the moon. I don't know. There's so many things that you all do, and it's just amazing. So that is great.
We have a question from Alex, and it's asked, what book title, or maybe we should say titles, would you suggest about the moon for use with amateurs, or maybe even for anyone else?
Oh man, well, I'm first going to turn this over to the Night Sky Network. You all here have amazing resources, so go ahead. What are your favorites?
Bob Creelan did a really good book. I am trying to remember the title. Does anyone remember that? Discover the Moon, says David Werner. Turn Left at Orion is just one of the best ever.
There was a really good book that came out just a couple of years ago about all the craters on the moon that are named after women.
Oh, yeah.
It was actually quite a fascinating read about the history about how things get named on the moon.
Nice. And we are still naming features on the moon, of course. So we just recently had a new feature named for a woman, and I can't remember exactly what that was, but I know that is just happening right now because of a postdoc doing research at Goddard. And then another postdoc doing research at Goddard is pushing for a feature near the Apollo 17 landing site to be called Ballet Crater, because Jack Schmidt did a fancy trip step spin, and so he was asked whether he'd be going out for the ballet when he returned to Earth, and so they're trying to name it Ballet Crater, and there's going to be a feature coming out about that soon. I hope I haven't stolen the news cycle here, but it's really it's fun to have all those naming conventions and then work with them as well.
Oh, there's a few other book recs in the chat. I'll just read them off because they're great. Turn Left at Orion, very good. Ruckel's Atlas of the Moon, Objects in the Heavens, version 6.1, and Discover the Moon. Faces of the Moon. Breakfast Moon is a great kids book. Storytime book for kids with like a delicious interactive activity where you match up breakfast foods and stuff with the phases of the moon and encourage kids to track the moon themselves and see what they see. We also have this charming book here we're very fond of, the Total Skywatcher's Manual, which has other moon tips too, but there's tons of great just astronomy and moon resources out there. So many. My personal favorite just for playing around and checking out the moon surface is NASA's Eyes on the Moon. Like, that's so good. So
yeah, totally. I have so many moon books as well. It's fun to hear everyone, but I like also, if you decide to go to the moon, if for a kid's book, there's one that I really enjoyed philosophically a while ago, but it was still something I talked about today to someone. But what if the moon did not exist, and just the idea of like all the differences, and would we be a spacefaring species? How would life on Earth have evolved differently? There are some great Apollo books. Lost Moon is a great adult one. There's also really good children's ones as well. Can't remember exactly the Apollo book I was thinking of for that, but just really, really awesome stuff. I think anything that makes you excited is a really, really good one. And I think Night Sky Network, do you have a whole collection of these? You should totally post member favorites.
Them on our moon resource link, which
Excellent.
I'll post again because we posted it a couple times. I don't want to flood the chat with it, but some more suggestions too. Kathy also reminds us the moon equals no tides, especially if you're like near the ocean. Whenever I'm like at a friend's house that's on the ocean, which is not often enough, unfortunately, they usually have the tide calendar, which is very important for them, and which always has the moon phase in it. Another one just handy for in general is the RASC always makes this great observer's handbook. Very handy just in general. What's Hot on the Moon Tonight? Another recommendation. Atlas of the Lunar Terrain. Exploring the Moon Through Binoculars and Small Telescope by Carrington. So yeah, tons, so many. Actually, I'm gonna be quiet so I can post links in the chat.
We would have the sun still pulling on, the Earth, and we would have, other planets still pulling on the Earth, but they would definitely be less impressive.
That's true. No tides, asterisk, some tides, but not as tidal or whatever. Not as big.
That's great. Yeah, is anything else on your mind out there? Do you have any questions for us? Any science questions, any program questions, any recommendations or things that you'd like to ask others? Look at all these great books that people are sharing here. I feel like there are so many other things that folks can share and discuss. So please feel free to use this time to keep sharing and asking among one another as well as us if we can help.
And if you have any creative ideas of things you want to do for International Observe the Moon Night, tell us those too, because sharing that makes it more fun for everybody.
Absolutely. Yeah, something I don't think we've really mentioned either. I'll just point out, I think many of you would have seen these, but we have some beautiful lunar visualizations as well. I didn't include any in my talk because of just technical details, but thinking of art and science and all of that, a very favorite visualization of mine is Clair de Lune, where we set moon rises and sets to a lunar landscape using real lunar data. That was played at the Kennedy Center. It's been played other places, but just the idea of that's another resource that you can share and find anytime through NASA Scientific Visualization Studio. We can put that link in there too. But those are great things to share at International Observe the Moon Night events, or on social media, or just to sit and relax at the end of a hard day if you just need some zen. Like these are great ones, or things to learn as well. And we're always making new ones of these too. So if there are things that you're looking for that can help explain concepts to you that you're having trouble with, or having trouble explaining to others, or just favorite concepts that you'd like good resources to share, definitely let us know. But I'll put both of those in the chat too, just because they should be in more people's lives, in my opinion.
Oh, and are there Observe the Midnight resources? Because I think you mentioned there's some work on internationalization of some of the resources. So there on the Observe the Moonlight page, are there resources in Spanish? It's a question that's come up a couple of times in the chat.
Yes, so we do have some, and we're getting more. And we also work very hard to make sure every single one of our resources, to the extent possible, is editable. So even if the resource itself is in English, you can take it and strip it from English and put in, your own language that you'd like to have as your advertising materials. A lot of people do that, but we do have a number of different languages. Spanish is high among them. We're going to do a live shot campaign, which means we're going to be on local news stations around the United States and some international sites as well, talking about International Observe the Moon Night on September 25th. And we're going to do that in English and in Spanish. So already we have that in podcasts. We are planning to be on hopefully a podcast that you love. And if you can recommend other content, that'd be great. But we're doing that in English and Spanish as well. So that's an easy language for us in terms of there's a lot of NASA backing to that, or at least some NASA backing to that. But we are working, again, to try to do translations of more materials. We do have some on our website already. I'll see if I can find that link and put it in the chat box. But also, it is there and it's a growing resource. So keep coming back. We are continuing to work on that, and we will make that one of our priorities in the coming year. So coming up for 2021, there will be even more out there. So thank you for your interest. Hearing that helps us know that this should be a priority, and we really appreciate that.
All right, well, we're at the top of the hour, and so I want to thank our panel for giving us some really great information, some great insights, and some hints about what you can do with your outreach. And thank to all of you for tuning in and for your great comments and your great suggestions about some of the resources that you've used. So you'll be able to find this webinar along with many others on the Night Sky Network website in the Outreach Resources section. Each webinar's page also features additional resources and activities. And so you'll be able to find some links to some of the activities that were mentioned here, in addition to all the links that were shared in the chat. We'll also post tonight's presentation on the Night Sky Network YouTube channel in the next few days. Actually, I think it's there because the live stream automatically records to there, but we'll probably add to that, and then we'll bring that into the Night Sky Network website page tomorrow with a link. And you can join us for our next webinar on Thursday, September 17th, 1 week from today, when Dr. Emily Levesque will share stories from her book, The Last Stargazers. So keep looking up, and we'll see you in a week, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks under the moon. So good night, everyone.
Good night. Thanks, Andrea. Thanks, Sandlin.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, all.